Part 2, Socrates and Adler. Youth. Alright, let me tell you about another friend of mine, a man named Y. He is a kind of person who has always had a bright personality and talk easily to anyone. He is like a sunflower. Everyone loves him, and people smile whenever he is around. In contrast, I am someone who has never had an easy time socially and who is kind of uh, wrapped in various ways. Now, you are claiming that people can change through Adler's teleology, philosopher. Yes, you and I and everyone can change. Youth. Then, do you think I could become someone like Y? From the bottom of my heart, I really wish I could be like him. Philosopher, at this point, I had have to say that's totally out of the question. Youth, now you're showing your true colors. So are you going to retract your theory? Philosopher, no, I'm not. Unfortunately, you have almost no understanding of Adlerian psychology yet. The first step to change is knowing. Youth. So, if I can understand just something about Adlerian psychology, can I become a person like Y? Philosopher, why are you rushing for answer? You should arrive at answers on your own, not rely upon what you get from someone else. Answers from others are nothing more than top gap measures. They are of no value. Take Socrates, who left not one book actually written by himself. He spent his days having public debates with the citizens of Athens, especially the young, and it was his disciple Plato who put his philosophy into writing for future generation. Adler too showed little interest in literary activities, preferring to engage in personal dialogue at cafes in Vienna and hold small discussions group. He was definitely not an armchair intellectual. Youth. So Socrates and Adler both conveyed their ideas by dialogue. Philosopher, that's right. All your doubts will be dispelled through this dialogue, and you will begin to change not by my words but by your own doing. I do not want to take that valuable process of arriving at answers through dialogue. Youth. So, are we going to try and reenact the kind of dialogue that Socrates and Adler carried out in this little study? Philosopher, isn't that good enough for you, youth? That is what I am hoping to find out. So let's take it as far as we can until either you retract your theory or I bow before you. Are you okay just as you are? Philosopher, okay, let's go back to your query. So you are like to be a more upbeat person like Y. Okay, let's go back to your query. So you had like to be a more upbeat person like Y. Youth. But you just rejected that and said it was out of question. Well, I guess that's just how is it. I am just saying that to give you a hard time. I know myself well enough. I could never be someone like that. Philosopher, why not? Youth, it's obvious because we have different personalities and or I guess you could say dispositions. Philosopher, youth. You, for instance, live surrounded by all these books. You read a new book and gain new knowledge. Basically, you keep accumulating knowledge. The more you read, the more your knowledge increases. You find new concepts of values, and it seems to you that they change you. Look, I hate to break it to you, but no matter how much knowledge you gain, your disposition or personality isn't going to basically change. If your base gets skewed, all you have learned will be useless. Yes, all the knowledge you have acquired will come crashing down around you, and then the next thing you know, you will be back to where you started. And the same goes for Adler's ideas. No matter how many facts I may try to accumulate about him, they are not going to have any effect on my personality. Knowledge just gets piled up as knowledge until sooner or later it's carded philosopher. Then let me ask you this. Why do you think you want to be like why? I guess you just want to be a different person, whether it's why or someone else. But what is the goal of that youth? You're talking about goals again. As I said earlier, it's just that I admire him and I think I'd be happier if I were like him. Philosopher, you think you had be happier if you were like him, which means that you are not happy now, right? Youth, what? Philosopher, right now you are unable to feel really happy. This is because you have not learned to love yourself, and to try to love yourself, you are wishing to be reborn as a different person. You are hoping to be like why and throw away who you are now, correct? Youth, yes, I guess that's right. Let's face it, I hate myself. Either one who is doing this playing around with old-fashioned philosophical discourse and who just can't help doing this sort of things. Yes, I really hate myself, philosopher. That's all right. If you were to ask around for people who say they like themselves, you had be hard pressed to find someone who had put up his or her chest with a pride and say, yes, I like myself, youth. How about you? Do you like yourself, philosopher? At the very least, I do not think I would like to be a different person, and I accept who I am, youth. You accept who you are, philosopher. Look, no matter how much you want to be like why, you cannot be reborn as him. You are not why. It's okay for you to be you. However, I'm not saying it's fine to be just as you are. If you are unable to really feel happy, then it's clear that things are not right just as they are. You have got to put one foot in front of the other and not stop. Youth, that's a harsh way of putting it, but I get your point. It's clear that I am not right just the way I am. I have got to move forward. Philosopher, to quote Adler again, the important thing is not what one is born with, but use one what use one makes of that equipment. You want to be why or someone else because you are utterly focused on what you were born with. Instead, you have got to focus on what you can make of your equipments. Unhappiness is something you choose for yourself. Youth, no way, that's unreasonable. Philosopher, why is it unreasonable? Youth, why? Some people are born into affluent circumstances with parents who are nice, and other are born poor with bad parents because that's how the world is. And I don't really want to get into this sort of subject, but things are not equal in the world, and differences between race, nationality, and ethnicity remain as deep as ever. It's only natural to focus on what you were born with. All your talk is just academic theory. You are ignoring the real world, philosopher. It is you who is ignoring reality. Does fixating on what you are born with change the reality? We are not replaceable machines. It is not replacement we need, but renewal. Renewal. Youth, to me, replacement and renewal are one and the same thing. Are one and the same thing. Youth, to me, replacement and renewal are one and the same. You are avoiding the main point. Look, there is such a thing as unhappiness from birth. Please acknowledge that. First of all, philosopher, I will not acknowledge that. Why? A philosopher, youth, why? Philosopher, for one thing, right now you are unable to feel real unhappiness. You find living hard, and even wish you could be reborn as a different person, but you are unhappy now because you yourself choose to being unhappy, not because you were born under the unlucky star. Under an unlucky star, youth, I choose to be unhappy. How can I possibly accept that, philosopher? There is nothing extraordinary about it because I repeated ever since the classical Greek era. You have heard you have heard the saying, no one desires evil. It's a proposition generally known as a Socratic paradox. Youth, there is no shortage of people who desire evil. Is there? Of course. There are plenty of thieves and murderers, and don't forget all the politicians and officials with their shady deals. It's probably harder to find a truly good, upright person who does not desire evil. Philosopher, without question, there is no shortage of behavior. Philosopher, without question, there is no shortage of evil, of behavior that is evil, but no one, not even the most handed criminal, become involved in crime purely out of a desire to engage in evil acts. Every criminal has an internal justification for getting involved in crime. A dispute over money leads someone to engage in murder. For instance, to the perpetrator, it is something for which there is a justification and which can be restated as an accomplishment of good. Of course, this is not good in a moral sense, but good in the sense of being of benefit to oneself. Youth, of benefit to oneself. Philosopher, the Greek word for good, egeton, does not have a moral meaning. It just means beneficial. Conversely, the word for evil, kekon, means not beneficial. Our world of rife with with injustices and misdeeds of all kinds, yet there is not one person who desires evil in the purest sense of the word. That is to say, something not beneficial. Youth, what does this have to do with me? Philosopher, at some stage in your life, you choose being unhappy. It is not because you were born into unhappy circumstances or ended up in an unhappy situation. It is that you judged being unhappy to be good for you. Youth, why? What for? Philosopher, how do you justify this? Why did you choose to be unhappy? To have a I have no way of knowing the specific answers or details. Philosopher, how do you justify this? Why did you choose to be unhappy? I have no way of knowing the specific answer or detail. Perhaps it will become clearer as we debate this. Youth, you are really trying to make a fool of me. You think this passes for philosophy? I do not accept this at all. In spite of himself, the young man got up and glared at the philosopher. I choose an unhappy life because it was good for me. What an absurd argument. Why is he going to such lengths to ridicule me? Why did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I'll dismantle his argument, no matter what it takes. I'll make him kneel before me. The young man's face flushed with excitement. People always choose not to change. Philosophers sit down. As things stand, it is only natural that our views clash. I will now give a simple explanation as to the manner in which humans are understood in Adlerian psychology. Youth, okay, but please be brief. Philosopher, earlier you said that any person's disposition or personality cannot be changed. In Adlerian psychology, we describe personality and disposition with the word lifestyle. Youth, lifestyle. Philosopher, yes, lifestyle is the tendency of thought and action in life. Youth, tendency of thought and action. Philosopher, how one sees the world and how one sees oneself. Think of lifestyle as a concept bringing together these ways of finding meaning. In a narrow sense, lifestyle can be defined as someone's personality. Take more broadly, it is a word that encompasses the worldview of that person and his or her outlook in life. Youth, a person's view of the world. Philosophers say there is someone who worries about himself and says, I am a pessimist. One could rephrase that to instead say, I have a pessimistic view in the world. of the world, you could consider that the issue is not personality, but rather the view of the world. It seems that the word personality is nuanced and suggests being unchangeable. But if we are talking about views of the world, well, then that should be a possible to alter. Youth, that is kind of confusing. When you speak of a lifestyle, do you mean a way of living? Philosopher, yes, you could put it in that way. To be a little more accurate, it is the way one's life should be. You probably think of disposition or personality as something with which you are endowed without any connection to your will. In Adlerian psychology, however, lifestyle is thought of as something that you choose for yourself. Youth, that you choose for yourself. Philosopher, yes, exactly. You choose your lifestyle. Youth, so not only did I choose to be unhappy, but I even went so far as to choose this wrapped personality too. Philosopher, absolutely. Youth, huh? Now you're really pushing it. When I become aware I already had this personality, I certainly didn't have any recollection of having chosen it, but it is the same for you, isn't it? Being able to choose one's own personality at will. Now that sounds like you are talking about robots and not people. Philosopher, of course, you did not consciously choose this kind of self. Your first choice was probably unconscious, combined with external factors you have referred to, and that is race, nationality, culture, and home environment. These certainly had a significant influence on that choice. Nevertheless, it is you who choose this kind of self. Youth, I did not get what you are saying. How on earth could I have chosen it? Philosopher, Adlerian psychology's views is that it happens around the age of 10. Youth, well, for argument's sake, and now I am really going out on a limb. Say that when I was 10, I consciously made this choice of lifestyle or whatever. Would that even matter? You can call it personality or disposition or lifestyle, but regardless, I had regularly become the kind of self. The state of things didn't change at all. Philosopher, that is not true. If your lifestyle is not something that you were naturally born with, but something you choose yourself, then it must be possible to choose it over again. Youth. Now you're saying I can choose it all over. Philosopher, maybe you haven't been aware of your lifestyle until now, and maybe you haven't been aware of the concept of lifestyle either. Of course, no one can choose his or her own birth, being born in this country, in this era, and with these parents are things you do not choose, and and all these things have a great deal of influence. You will probably face disappointment and start looking at other people and feelings. I wish I had been born in their circumstances, but you cannot let it end there. The issue is that the issue is not the past, but there in the present. And now you have learned about lifestyle, but what do you with it from where on is your personal responsibility. Whether you go on choosing the lifestyle you have had up till now or you choose a new lifestyle altogether, it is entirely up to you. Youth, then how do I choose again? You are telling me you choose that lifestyle yourself, so go ahead and select a new one instantly, but there is no way I can I can just change on the spot. Philosopher, yes, you can. People can change at any time, regardless of the environment they are in. You are unable to change only because you are making the decision not to. Youth, what do you mean exactly? Philosopher, people are constantly selecting their lifestyle right now while we are having our Tete, we are selecting ours. This Tete, ठीक है. You describe yourself as an unhappy person. You say that you want to change right this minute. You even claim that you want to be reborn as a different person. After all that, then why are you still unable to change? It is because you are making the persistent decision not to change your lifestyle. Youth, no, don't you see that is completely illogical? I do not want to change. That is my sincere wish. So, how could I be making the decision not to? Philosopher, although there are some small inconveniences and limitations, you probably think that the lifestyle you have now is the most practical one, and that it's easier to live things as they are. If you say, just like this, experience enables you to respond properly to events as they occur. While guessing the result of one's action, you could say it's like driving your old familiar car. It might rattle a bit, but one can take that into account and maneuver easily. On the other hand, if one choose a new lifestyle, no one can predict what might happen to the new self and or have any idea how to deal with events as they arise. It will be hard to see ahead up to the future, and life will be filled with anxiety. A more painful and unhappy life might lie ahead. Simply put, people have various complaints about things, but it is easier and more secure to be just the way one is. Youth. One wants to change, but changing is scary. Philosopher. When we try to change our lifestyle, we put our great courage to the test. There is the anxiety generated by changing, and the disappointment and attendant to not changing. I am sure you have selected the later. Youth, wait. Just now you used the word courage. Philosopher, yes. Adlerian psychology is the psychology of courage. Your unhappiness cannot be blamed on your past or environment, and it is not that you lack competence, you just lack courage. One might say you are lacking in the courage to be happy. Your life is decided here and now. Youth, the courage to be happy. Hmm. Philosopher, do you need further explanation? Youth, no, hold on. This is getting confusing. First, you tell me that the world is a simple place. That is seems complicated only because of me, and that my subjective view is making it that way, and also that life seems complicated just because I make it complicated, all of which is what makes it difficult for me to live happily. Then you say that one should take the stance of teleology as opposed to Freudian etiology, that one must not search for causes in one's past and should deny trauma. You say that people act to achieve some goals or other instead of being creatures who are driven by causes in their past. Right? Philosopher, yes. Youth. Furthermore, as a major premise of teleology, you say that people can change, that people are always selecting their own lifestyle. Philosopher, that is correct. Youth. So I am unable to change because I myself keep repeatedly making the decision not to change. I don't have enough courage to choose a new lifestyle. In other words, I do not have courage to be happy, and that is why I am unhappy. Have I got anything wrong? Philosopher, no, you haven't. Youth, okay, in that case, my question is, what are the real measures I should take? What do I need to do to change my life? You haven't explained all that yet. Philosopher, you are right. What you should do now is make a decision to stop your current lifestyle. For instance, earlier you said, if only I could be someone like why I had be happy. As long as you live that way in the realm of possibility of of if only such and such were the case, you will never be able to change, because saying if only I could be like why is an excuse to you yourself for not changing. Youth, an excuse not to change. Philosopher, yes, I have a young friend who dreams of becoming a novelist, but he never seems to be able to complete his work. According to him, his job keeps him too busy and he can never find enough time to write novels, and that is why he can't complete work and enter it for writing awards. But is that the real reason? No, it's actually that he wants to live the possibility of I can do it if I try open. By not committing to anything, he doesn't want to expose his work or criticism, and he certainly doesn't want to change. If I can do it if I try open. By not committing anything to change, he certainly doesn't want to face the reality that he might produce an inferior piece of writing and face reaction. He wants to live inside that realm of possibilities where he can say that he could do it if he only had the time, and that he could write if he just had the proper environment, that he really does have the talent for it. In another 5 or 10 years, he will probably start using other excuses like I'm not young anymore, or I have got a family to think about now. Youth, I can relate all too well to how he must feel. Philosopher, he should just enter his writing for an award, and if he gets rejected, so be it. If he did, he might grow or discover that he should pursue something different. Either way, he would be able to move on. That is what changing your current lifestyle is about. Want won't get anywhere by not submitting. He won't get anywhere by not submitting anything new. But maybe his dreams will be shattered. Philosopher, well, I wonder, having simple tasks, things that should be done, while continually coming up with various reasons why one cannot do them, sounds like a hard way to live, doesn't it? So in the case of my friend who dreams to become a novelist, it is clearly the I or the self that is making life complicated and too difficult to live happily. Youth, but that's harsh. Your philosophy is too tough. Philosopher, indeed, it is a strong medicine. Youth, strong medicine. Yes, I agree. Philosopher, but if you change your lifestyle, the way of giving meaning to the world and yourself, then both your way of interacting with the world and your behavior with will have to change as well. Do not forget this point. One will have to change. You, just as you are, have to choose your lifestyle. It might seem hard, but it is really quite simple. Youth, according to you, there is no thing such as trauma, and environment doesn't matter either. It's all just baggage, and my own happiness is my own fault, right? I am starting to feel like I am being criticized for everything I have ever been and done. Philosopher, no, you're not being criticized. Rather, as Adler's teleology tells us, no matter what has occurred into your life, to the point it should be have no bearing at all on how you live for now on from now on. That you live in the here and now are the one who determines your own life. Done for today.